Does your golf swing look like this? Well, don't be discouraged. Stay tuned for Modern Golf, featuring Dave Hill, one of America's fine young touring professionals, and Hal Scheidler, the man who believes everyone can break 80. Hello, everyone. My name is Hal Scheidler, and I do believe everyone can break 80 at least occasionally. As we've told you before, the main purpose of our show is to help you to build an image of a good golf swing in your own mind. Throughout the series, we'll be going through the various clubs in the bag and giving you what we think is some pretty sound advice on the best way to get the most from the club and the most from your golf game. We're speaking to you today from beautiful Indian Wells Country Club in Palm Desert, California. And on this gorgeous afternoon, Mr. Dave Hill is with us again. Dave?
How you do, Hal? Nice to be here again.
Fine. As I'm sure most everyone knows by now, Dave is one of the fine young touring professionals in America. He has what we consider a really classic approach to the golf game. He's strong, he hits it good, and if we could all learn to hit it as he does, we'd have some pretty exciting golf under our belt. Davey, I understand today that we're going to go into one of the most feared clubs in the bag, and that is the driver.
Yes, Hal, I thought that we might show the people how they could get the most out of the driver. Maybe they wouldn't be as afraid of it if they can see the basic fundamentals of the golf swing, and we'll do it in slow motion and show them how, just what to do with it.
Actually, if they could move that driver well off the tee, in other words, the average fellow today is hitting his driver maybe 175 or 190 yards. If he could stretch that tee shot out, know that he could knock it in the fairway and hit it out there 215 or 220, he could certainly score a lot better.
Well, if you could just keep it in the fairway, you could do all right. I have a little problem there now and then.
Well, we have two purposes out here. While we're making this little show to pass along to you, Dave also gets in an awful lot of practice time before going back on the tournament trail.
And also learn a little bit about my own game.
Right. When Davey gets a chance to see it in slow motion sometimes, he'd like for me to take a scene or two out, but we won't do that. When he makes a mistake, we'll point it out for you and then show you how he corrected it. Davey, I think we're just about ready to go to work, so if you folks will stand by, we'll be with you down on the practice tee in just 1 minute. During our series on modern golf, we try to deal with the most important problems that most golfers have. And one of the biggest ones, of course, is slicing the ball or hooking the ball. But mostly, I'd say for 90% of the amateur golfers, their biggest problem is slicing the ball. Well, naturally, the manner in which the ball is struck by the club face determines where the ball is going. So we've worked out another little demonstration for you Dave's going to tell us about, which will help you in your practice sessions to get the proper alignment and to get the proper plane to the swing. Davey, you want to tell us about it?
Yes, Hal. I'll take and set this white nylon rope on the gun. We'll put a peg at each end to hold it tight, and then we'll set the ball, we'll tee the ball, just one side of it, in the direction we're going to shoot. The line will be in a straight, the cord will be laying in a straight line going out toward the fairway, and I'll align myself with this cord and go ahead and hit the ball, and the people will be able to tell at which spot the club enters the hitting area from the inside, we hope. If it enters from the outside, we're going to hit a slice.
Right. Well, we'll go into some ultra slow motion, as a matter of fact, on this, Dave. So I think if you'll go over there and get your arrangement set up on the practice tee, we'll be ready to take a look at you in just a minute.
Okay, fine, Hal.
To look at the swings of 3 average golfers. Now, all 3 could hit the ball much better if they had a swing pattern which carried the club head out through the ball. Complete collapse of the left arm and overpowering with the right hand rob these and most other players of the true enjoyment the game affords. Our sincere thanks go to these nice people, and we hope modern golf will help them to correct a fault or two. If this young fellow would just take the club higher on the backswing and then throw the club head out and up toward the target, he'd be pretty tough to handle. But he must get that club up in the air. Despite all the conversation I make about the unbelievable importance of the left arm, I am also well aware of the difficulty most players experience in attempting to follow my suggestions for using it. Golf is a left-handed game played by right-handed people. Until you realize this and force yourself to make the left hand the dominant force, you'll always have problems. That's a particular thing that helped me a great deal when I went out to practice on my golf game after giving it up for almost a year. I think you'll find it beneficial if you'll give it a try too. Now, here's something else to write down in your notebook. I think this will also be helpful. Dave is using a 3 wood, and you'll note the white line is still in evidence. Further proof that you hit down on the ball with the fairway woods just as you do with the irons. Remember, ball first, then the turf. What I particularly wish to point up in this view is the tremendous leg action of a good player. The feet are firmly planted, and the power starts right from the big toe and flows upward through the entire body. Notice that the entire left side will make the first move. The hips slide out from under the head position and move laterally several inches before natural body restrictions force the turn to the left. The good golf swing encompasses the entire body and can be as graceful as a ballet move. Rhythm, grace, speed, and power, they're all present in a great player. And this young fellow is a fine example. Next time someone says golf isn't great exercise, better check their swing. It certainly won't look like this. Well, Davy, I know that the past few days we've been working here at Indian Wells, that you've been working on one of your particular problems. I think you have found an answer to it now. At least we were both pretty pleased with the way you were hitting them last night on the practice tee. So why not pass it along to the audience, and maybe it'll help some of them too.
Sure enough, Hal. Well, for years I've had a habit of setting the club a little fast on the backswing with the right hand, which is more or less picking it up with the right hand this way. And when one does this, he has a tendency to hit too quick from the top, causing him to hook the ball, and if he holds on to it, he pushes it. And I've been trying to hold the club off the ground at all times in this fashion, so that when I take it away, the club will stay lower longer, enabling me to get a smooth takeaway, and my timing and rhythm will be a lot better when I get back to the ball. This front view dramatizes balance, concentration, and the absolutely necessary full extension of the left side. This being a full power swing, the feet are widely spread, normally about the width of the shoulders. The pressure point is the instep, with the weight equally distributed between the heel and the toe. Dave addresses the ball with the left shoulder high. This enables him to make a full turn and helps him stay under the shot to avoid one of the bugaboos of all extra strong hitters, the snatch hook. Get a good picture of the left arm extension this young fellow has. Never let that left side collapse until the ball is long gone. Set up strongly to the ball, keep the head in place, drive that left arm down and out, and swing the club. Remember, don't hit at the ball with your hands, swing the club. Work on these fundamentals, and that partner who's been giving two aside will be asking you for shots in a very short time. Now let's check some hand and body positions throughout the swing and see if we can't help you build a mental image of where you should be at a given spot. Note the square head position with both eyes looking directly at the ball. The left hand pushing the club head back low along the ground and never getting under the shaft. The toe of the club points at the ground when the club reaches the horizontal. Now from here, you're ready to start the big pull down with the left hand. All the weight shifts forward so that you are balanced on the left foot
and just the right toe is touching the ground. The hips and the shoulders have turned to face the line of flight. When you start the club back with the left hand, it has a chance to stay in control. The left hand pulls down as the entire left side moves laterally forward. And note that the left arm is driving the butt of the club straight at the ball. The left hand is in front, the toe of the club is in the square position pointing to the sky, and the right elbow is in perfect position, tucked in close to the body and driving through inside the hip as the body is turning to the rear to clear the way. Now, power will come into the right hand only when the right arm straightens just prior to impact. The feet are wide, at least as wide as the shoulders. The left shoulder is high. The head is square, and both eyes are locked on the back of the ball. The big move to the left, and the left hand continues to lead the club head squarely through the impact zone. The right hand is just now coming to the top as the club face closes. The head position is excellent, allowing a margin of error to prevent coming out of the shot. Carrying the weight fully forward, and yet remaining in perfect balance. I've always maintained anyone who can dance can play golf and do it well. Note that Dave takes the club away from the ball in a line which seems to be inside the designated pattern. It really isn't. Maybe I can help you visualize the proper club head pattern. Just imagine that the white line is the bottom portion of a huge circle standing directly in line with the target. Following this circle would give you the perfect golf swing. However, this being a physical impossibility, we must make an adjustment. Mentally lean the circle or hoop toward the player until the top of the hoop lays directly across the shoulders. From where we stand, you would then see the circle leaning toward the player at about a 30-degree angle and running from the back of the neck through the ball. As Dave makes the complete swing, you will see the club head follow this imaginary line. Not only will he follow the line back to the ball, but on through the ball and up the other side of the circle until it meets the beginning point at the top. I know this sounds relatively simple. I also know it is most difficult. Two things must happen to permit the club head to travel along this line. The head must stay in position over and slightly behind the ball, and the left arm must stay straight and firm and lead all the way. Probably the worst fault of the average player could be pointed up as trying to hit the ball rather than swinging the club and letting the ball get in the way. Here's an unusual close-up of time. This scene was shot at 4,000 frames per second in a technique used in the study of ballistics and often in space research. We cannot boast of the photographic quality, but please remember this is an experimental research camera and design limitations for super speed photography preclude image quality. Nevertheless, I believe you'll find it very interesting. Remember that this scene took only about 1 second to film, but will take almost 3 minutes to play back at normal speed. Two particular points I'd like to call to your attention. The tremendous leg action which enables Dave to generate great speed and consequent distance, and the extremely brief period of time the club face and the ball are in actual contact. All my life I've heard arguments about how long the ball stayed on the club face. Frankly, I was a little astounded at the real answer. I think you will be too. Now, realizing that the film is flying through the camera at the rate of 4,000 frames per second, please note that club face and ball are touching in just 2 frames. Now, we checked this many times because it just didn't seem possible. This simply means the ball and club face are in actual contact for just 1/6,000th of a second. And this means if you can keep the club face square along the intended line of flight for just 1/6,000th of a second after striking the ball, you will always hit it straight. Silly as it seems, it's that simple. I'm certain this will end a lot of long-standing arguments and maybe start a few new ones. But believe me, The camera doesn't lie, and there's your answer. Now back to the leg action of a fine player. Note the tremendous drive forward of the entire lower body. Now the head is still in position over the ball. Everything else has driven forward and combined to give maximum strength for the big pull down through the ball. This simple shot dramatizes why we continually harp on building the strong left side. Unless the left side is moving at least as fast as the right side will be forced to the outside. The player is then either over the ball or must come back to the ball in the hitting area, and the result is the big slice or banana ball. A good swing will wind you up in this position. All the weight forward on the left leg, just the toe of the right foot touching for balance. Well, I'm always being asked questions about what is the life of a touring pro like. I think that Dave would have some pretty good answers for that, and I'd like for him to come in right now. Davey, I know that there are probably a couple of million golfers around the country at least who envy you the right you have to travel around the country and play all the fine golf courses, but I thought it might give them a little different look at it if they knew a little bit of the work side rather than the play. Would you give us an idea of just a normal day during the tournament?
Well, Hal, tournament normally starts on a Thursday, and depending whether you have an early tee time or a late tee time, if you tee off at 8:30, you have to be up by 6, because that gives you time to sort of wake up before you go to the practice tee, and you have to eat breakfast, and then you go to the practice tee and spend anywhere from an hour, no more than an hour on the practice tee. Mm-hmm. You play your 18 holes of golf, and depending on how you played, whether you go back to the practice tee or not.
If you're hitting it a little bad, you go out there and work for another hour or so.
Right. Normally when I play good, I go to the practice tee, and when I play bad, I try to stay away from it for a while. And from the golf course, you go back to the motel and take a shower and go eat, and by this time it's about 8 o'clock, and you go right to bed.
And maybe watch TV for an hour, and that's about the end of a day. And that doesn't sound too glamorous, but there are good times that make up for it. I know that when you're playing some of the special invitational tourneys, that they do throw some real nice parties for all you fellas, too.
Yes, they do. There's a lot of enjoyment in it.
Many times when you would have opportunities to go someplace, you don't go because you're married and your family wouldn't happen to be with you at that time.
Well, that's right, Hal.
Well, Dave, I know that it's more work than it is play. I also know that you enjoy it a great deal, and I thought the folks would like to know that it's a pretty busy day when you actually practice probably three hours and a half a day if you're not playing too well, and then spend another 4 and a half, or 5 hours on the golf course. You've had a pretty full day.
Yeah, but it's just the life you pick. It's like anybody else.
And when you play in about, what, 35 tournaments a year?
No, I try to play about 30. I've averaged about 30 tournaments a year for the last 4 or 5.
And this year we're going to win a couple of the big ones.
Well, we hope.
Good. Thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you.
For our usual feature of each show, Dave will today play the fine 18th hole here at Indian Wells. It's a good par 4 with homes and trees along the out-of-bounds markers on the right. The tee shot should be played for the right side of the fairway. On the left side, the fairway slopes up sharply into some trees, and a hook can cost you a bunch. The normal-sized green is well bunkered, and all in all, this is a very fine hole. As our regular viewers know, Dave plays 2 balls, the first in the conventional manner, leaving both hands on the shaft throughout the swing. The second ball is played to demonstrate the full use of the left hand, and the right hand is taken out of the shot immediately following impact. With 2 hands, the driver. And Davey jumped on that one a little, released the right hand a bit early, and has drawn the ball to the left edge of the fairway and up on that slope. He could have a pretty tough shot from there. Dave has a slight tendency to leave the one-handed shot a little right and will play for the center of the fairway. A good swing and good results. Dead center in the fairway, some 5 yards in front of the first ball. Now, Dave has a solid 6-iron for his second shot with the first ball, and from this side hill lie will open the stance and stay down in the shot as long as possible to avoid leaving it way out to the right. A good swing. And you can bet your boots he doesn't want that one over. Actually, a super shot from that position, and he has just about a 20-footer left for a birdie. With one hand, Davy again will go with a 6-iron. He has a good lie. Ball is setting up nicely, and he can do just about anything he wants to with it. He makes a fine pass at it, starting straight at the flag, then fading slightly and landing soft just about 12 feet from the stick. Remember to repair those ball marks every time you walk on a green. It only takes a moment, and if we all practice this, the game will be much more enjoyable. And when you do leave the pin on the green, please lay it down, don't drop it. Dave has been putting cross-handed during our work here at Indian Wells. He has never been an outstanding putter, but is constantly working on this phase of his game and feels the cross-handed action helps fight his major putting fault, specifically letting the right hand turn over and pulling the ball. Let's see what he does with this little snake. Knocks it in for the conventional ball, a fine birdie, and I think Dave is about as astounded as anyone else. Again, he will use the cross-handed style with the left hand below the right. Puts a nice stroke on it, but failed to allow for the break. Dave started it right at the hole and then left it on the low side. One birdie, one par. That just about winds up another session of Modern Golf. We've been speaking to you today from the beautiful Indian Wells Country Club at Palm Desert, California. We'd like to extend our thanks to all the management here for their very fine cooperation. Davy, congratulations once again on the way you played that beautiful 18th hole, and that was a nice birdie.
Thank you, Hal.
I thought that your second shot there, the 6-iron, where you had a rather tough side hill lie, was an exceptionally fine shot.
Well, Hal, it's a difficult shot to play if you don't watch your weight position. I try to move in a little closer to the ball and set down to the ball a little bit more, which puts my weight back on the heels, and open the stance up and just stay down with it, because if you come up out of it, you'll leave it way to the right.
And I think this is something that we'll have to go into a little more closely in some of our future future shows. I don't believe we've talked about side hill lies or downhill lies, and I think this would be a very interesting point.
Well, it's a very important part of golf.
I thought you stayed in that one very nicely. Congratulations once again. I might say that was a fine putt you made for your birdie there, and you should have made the short one and missed the long one. That's the way I play.
Well, sometimes the long one's easier to make than the short one because you're not trying to make it. You're just trying to get it close.
And then lag it in the bottom of the hole.
Well, if it hits enough of the right bounces, you'll get it in the hole.
Thank you very much, Davy, and we'll see you next week.
Sure enough, Hal.
Very good. Until then, this is Hal Scheidler speaking for Dave Hill and reminding you we'll see you same time, same station next week. And until then, you keep your head down, your left arm straight, and believe me, you can break 80.